Afternoon. Welcome to this first in the series of dialogues with legends in microfinance, and it is apt that we commence this dialogue with a discussion with Ilaben Bhatt, who actually doesn't need any introduction. Ilaben started the Seva movement in the 70s in Ahmedabad, and then she established the Seva Bank. And of course, if I reel out the numerous awards which Ilaben has received, it will take much of time. Suffice to say that she is an awardee of the prestigious Ramon Magsaysay Award, as well as Padma Shri and Padmabhushan. And apart from helping the microfinance sector in India, Ilaben chaired the Women's World Banking also for a long time. And she is one of the founders of Sa-Dhan. And we are privileged that even now, Ilaben continues with us as a chair emeritus for Sa-Dhan. Thank you, Ilaben, for taking this time off and agreeing to have this discussion with us. First, I would like to start with a broad question. While the formal microfinance sector started in India in the 90s, Seva Bank itself has started in mid 70s. So, how do you describe this journey of nearly 3 decades as far as the microfinance sector is concerned?
Namaste. Very nice to meet you, and very nice to meet Sa-Dhan. My visits have been less frequent now. When you talk of Sa-Dhan, so many memories get into my mind. So I tried to put them in stages. First of all, whenever I am called as a finance person, then I wonder that how come. But yes, I have been very much interested in finance and finance going to micro people. So thank you for this opportunity. As I said, several stages. I remember the first one was when I'll have to bring Seva and Seva Bank, otherwise I cannot link. So by linking originally with Seva, then that was in 72, and I worked with formal sector labor. And when I saw, actually, so I was fighting for their cases, but when I with my own eyes, I saw how much injustice was suffered by the informal labor, almost 50% of them being women, female-headed households. So then I left, working for the formal sector, and I tried to set up, organize women, poor women, self-employed workers, and organize a trade union called Self-Employed Women's Association, SEVA. So their main priority was, I could see that indebtedness, and that was they were, they suffered the most after private money lenders, and of course they were working, but they were invisible. They were invisible to the census of India until 1990. So they were officially recorded as non-workers. The census inspector would be standing there. The woman is milking the cow. That milk goes to, for processing to the dairy, and then packeted and brought to the market and sold. So their work is recorded, accounted as part of the GDP. That income is also recorded as national income. But that woman milking the cow, she is not a worker. And the inspector would ask her that, what are you working? So she would say, nothing, on the farm. So that man would also not understand that this is work. So the first problem of the poor was uh, invisibility. The other problem was that because they were not organized, they were voiceless. And as I said, that their actual work was not validated by the official, and therefore they remain unprotected, unrecorded, and unserved, uh, and remain unemployed also to a large extent. So uh, there, during those time, I learned that their first priority was to come out of the private indebtedness and the exploitation of the private money lender. Then, so within Seva, looking to the priority of the members, Seva Cooperative Bank was set up. I always believe in member-based, member-owned organizations. So this was a cooperative. So Seva Cooperative Bank was established in 74. Union was in 72, and that is how Seva Bank came into existence. And in Seva Bank, we started, uh, looking at their priority. We started giving them loans to relieve them from their debts. So when 2 years before, when the RBI governor, visited Seva Bank, he was so much surprised that how can a bank lend to one who is already highly indebted. But then Jayashree Ben, explained that how they started saving on one side, and then paying their haftas. So that is how they, one side they came out of the debt, and the other side was that they are slightly, slowly growing up in their occupations. Then the second, third, whatever. So that stage is. So what I meant was that our journey has been for 4 decades almost. Uh, so um, you know, it was much later that the economics and economists then made a kind of statistics or whatever it's called of the formal and informal sector. Though personally, I do not believe in this kind of categories. There is a tyranny of categories, and that is what we are suffering all the time. But saying so, the economists said that 10%. I'm talking of 80. Uh, uh, yeah, around 70s. So about 10% were formal sector workers, and the rest was 90% was unorganized informal sector of labor. So how can that be? At that time, I saw sheer injustice. Uh, then further, we also saw that 50% of the informal were women, and then 30% of women in general during those days, maybe more or less now, I don't know, but during those days, 70s, 50%, no, I'm sorry, 30% were female-headed households, and 50%, the major income amongst the poor came from the women. So uh, my focus was totally on informal sector. We call them self-employed, and uh, uh, and then organize them into bank. Uh, so the main problem is the poverty and vulnerability. Uh, so that had not come into understanding yet of the economies, or only since last 5 years now you hear the word informal and formal into the mainstream policies. And uh, uh, so that was a stage, and then also there were other organizations also who came up, not bank but MFIs type of thing. Uh, and I remember Annapurna organization based in Pune. Then, of course, Jaya Arunachalam in the south, uh, and then much more. So slowly, it was getting sort of proved that women are bankable, and that was a good sign. Uh, and then lending started with women officially. So these organizations, a few of them, we were at that time. So they lent, and the repayment was almost regular, uh, about 99%, 100%. So there was a movement of sharing of experiences, and then learning from each other. And in a small way, uh, yes, learning and practicing the microfinance. Uh, then the government uh, came into Indira Gandhi, particularly when she gave a slogan, "Go to the poor, lend to the poor." So the banks were more agile at that time. So that is how. Then the stage came when CDB was started, and then NABARD. Of course, NABARD was there, but also look into the lives of poor rural women. Uh, the NGOs, different trusts, and also came into into position, and then formal institutions were set up. The most interesting and most innovative, of course, it was women who were innovative all the time. But yes, I should tell you that women were the leaders from the beginning, from zero. Women, uh, women's UN Women's Conference. If you know the history, was held in 1975 in Mexico City, and there the women from all different countries uh, uh, sort, sort of gave evidence that their problem was indebtedness, private money lending, and access to capital. So that is how, and it happened that in 74 we already had a bank and a cooperative bank. So we were a little bit more vocal. And then our governments also, because in the UN conference, the governments also became more conscious of the need of women's, of the need of the poor. So there have been several stages, but the base stage came when women's self-help groups came, and they were set up uh, thanks to Sidvi, and they were successful. SHGs were successful without any knowledge of banking or all that. Of course, they were not banks, but self-help groups of savings and credit. So this movement of SHG movement uh, in started from South India as a movement, was flourishing, and even RBI also took notice of this movement. And somehow this word came in, MF. MF. I till today I don't agree with the word microfinance. The micro is the persons, not finance. So anyway, so I won't get into that. But then Sa-Dhan, that was a necessary because so many groups were forming and so many NGOs. They were, the lending and dealing with finance for the poor and all that. So there were so many, small and big, meetings and conferences to discuss that. So there was a need that we felt that we do need a kind of a more like a confederation or more like an association or more organized in a bit systematic way, and then build up a kind of future of finance. I most remember because I worked most all the time with Vijay Mahajan, even until now. So Vijay Mahajan and myself and others to get very active in this movement, microfinance movement. And then slowly we were recognized, Sa-Dhan was recognized in other countries, all over the country. Even women's world banking, uh, mostly the members of WWB has been the developing countries. So there was a voice. It was set up in in Netherlands. So there was a voice of women's need for credit. It started from Netherlands. Yes. So this national, international, during the atmosphere of the national, international microfinance movement and practices, that Sa-Dhan came into existence. It was born. And I remember all my colleagues and how much we have struggled at the ground level and with the government. If I would name them, so then Vijay, then Sanjay Sinha, he was very active. He was the brain. Then Uday Kumar, Vijaya Lakshmi, many. And there was Titus and there was Achala. So we made a very good, strong group and moved further and further. Then later, Sri Ram and others also joined. More and more the consultants joined. So their contribution was very, very precious.
Ilaben, if I may interrupt. So now, after Seva started and you all took initiative for Sa-Dhan, and as you said, a large number of other institutions have come into the microfinance sector.
Mm.
And now a large number of institutions are there.
Mm.
So, from your experience, what do you feel that if such an institution has to be successful, both it has to be successful on its own for its own sustainability, but at the same time, it has to take care of the empowerment of women and their financial needs. How can an institution, especially the modern day microfinance institutions, be successful in both these aspects?
What is this success? Let me ask you that, are you concerned with the success of the sector or success of the finance or the success of the micro people's work, life, living?
No, 11, ultimately, actually, we want the success of our borrowers, the women in the grassroots level. Their success is the utmost for us.
Yeah, but the thinking is going the other way. The investors and but anyway, so I'm all positive about that, and the success. There are various aspects. I think in success, number one, I would put women. They have wherever women have been there, they have remained more responsive, and they have made the best use of the loans in building assets, particularly these small MFIs and some the big MFIs. They have created they have created more you know I would say generating assets, and then assets owning by women to a certain extent, and that leads to so you know more productivity and more income, and that is how that is of course a clear asset or a clear success. And the other thing is also then banks, regular banks also then started recognizing women as depositors, as borrowers. So that is a big thing, coming into the mainstream of the financial services. In banking, I won't say financial service, but in banking. So that way, in our country, it has been a great success story. What bothers me is the growth. So growth of what? That disturbs me. Uh, uh, have we been able to bring change? Uh, but so far as success is concerned, uh, some have become, some MFIs have become more innovative. Many more have just tried to copy the formal uh, structure of banking. Uh, but there have been some very good creative innovations in lending, simplifying simplifying the procedures, and then focusing on I think it is a success story in India, uh, but needs some clearer vision. Earlier there was, but slowly that vision is blurring and going more towards the typical growth, what we call growth. Growth is not necessarily development. So actually, microfinance is a program of development. since Mexico City. That was the purpose. But we also see that, of course, development uh, concept itself is in question now during these days. So I agree, success, but to a limited extent. Maybe I'm old, so I say that.
Elaben, you are mentioning that it's necessary that institutions should be people owned. And now, when we come to the people owned institutions like cooperatives and SHGs, what is the role which they should have in the broader financial inclusion framework? Because we always hear about banks and big financial institutions, but don't you feel that people owned institutions like cooperatives and self help groups also have a big role in this financial inclusion?
Will you please explain me the question?
I am saying that nowadays, whenever we talk of financial inclusion, usually there are a lot of talk about the banks, big institutions. But what I'm saying is that when that is being so, what is the role for people-owned institutions like cooperatives and SHG, self-help groups in this entire financial inclusion framework?
I think they need more support at the mainstream, at the policy level, and uh, uh, I believe in cooperatives. It's, till you remain dependent on others, then there is always a risk. And those who invest, they are investing. Even funding also, grant is also not very helpful because swavalamban, one has to be sustainable. The borrowers have to be sustainable. The institution has to be self-reliant, and the profits also has to be shared with the members. But I think it is microfinance sector has taken another way, another role, and want to be the mainstream of financial structure. The financial services are ignored, though it has started now having an integrated service of MFI or others. But even then, uh, there should be integration and have to reach towards attaining full employment at the household level. Full employment की बात तो बहुत करते, पर full employment at the macro level, national level, that is not the question. In unions, we all the time talk of full employment, but at the national level, at the household level, and that needs uh, uh, enough income to sustain their need for roti, kapda, makan, and services, basic services of life, uh, the needs, that is healthcare and education and uh, uh, and financial services. So unless it is localized, I don't think we will ever be able to serve the need of the people of the lower strata ever, because the mainstream is going more and more higher up and higher up. So that way private debt, if not private, but banking uh, a debt will go on increasing. And now, amongst today, the microfinance has also gone into competition and what under what they call growth. You know, the word most used is the scaling up. What do we want to scale? Why not scale deep down and understand the reality uh, and serve accordingly? So sorry, I'm not a good person and encouraging person, but I do believe that unless we get local, uh, uh, small people will never be able to benefit from whatever good services or programs or schemes. And NGOs and NFIs and uh, they need to remain more local oriented, and that is scaling up their life and their livelihoods.
11 in this.
Have I replied?
Yeah. Yes, it's quite clear.
Good.
11 in this current context of this COVID-19 pandemic and all, what you feel our entire microfinance sector should be doing or can do?
It is very serious. Uh, Today, nobody has the answer. So much uncertainty about the future, and we don't know. So I think we need to realize the basic, the fundamental problem of this COVID. And it is so clear that the human beings have devoured, go on consuming fresh air, fresh water, and the fresh and the land. Now water, the only source of water is rains. Unless there is pure air, clear air, how are we going to uh, have clear, pure water, rains of that? Uh, so much of consuming, you know, deep down storage of water that the Mother Earth has, and that we are drawing out now. So of course, nothing to say about it. This is all we know. So why not the SHGs and the local NGOs and NFIs and the local banks and cooperatives, turn to turn their uh, be open and let the finance flow towards that. But this is not taken into serious consideration. There are branches, so many branches of our formal banks, and the branch manager, most often, as I see it in my survey, don't know the local language. So I'm sure that he must be waiting to be transferred as soon as possible to be away from this.
Yeah.
So why not be local, even at the banking services? And so the answer I see is that the first priority is food. So what is all related to food? There is so much scope, abundant scope for employment, new employment. Why do farmers have to, or they do, sell away their farm produce directly? Why sell away paddy? Why not paddy, but make it into rice and then sell? Make it into polished rice, if not all the 7 stages, at least 4 stages, and then sell it out. So Swadeshi is also meant like this. Why do we ever have to uh, have to globalize? Uh, uh, Food system should and country like India. So how to localize, deglobalize? Start with food system. Uh, I think the other thing is integrated services. That is also very necessary. Um, in short, what I have learned by Seva experience, of course, all that I am saying is only from Seva experience. Otherwise, I'm not a scholar of this. Uh, but I would say cut down the distance between producer and the raw material. Cut down the distance between producer and consumer, and cut down the difference between decision making. Let it be as low and in the hands of the district or the local people, the farmers or whoever, and let the rest of the technology, suitable technology, come come down to the people's hand, to the actual producer's hand. The finance should go there. Let there be R&Ds at local level. Those who are working, those who are processing, we can have the best suitable technology, based tools. So from place to place, uh, the culture changes, the whole tradition changes, skills also change, the needs of food, etc. Basic needs also change. So why not, why not our financial institutions learn about that and then implement? You have to decide that the bank manager or whatever the bank one who runs the microfinance body, they have to decide that whether the investment that my investment that is going to the client, is it for building a biscuit factory or a gun factory? All big banks, they must all think about that, and that is not happening. The whole vision seems to be is so different, and our vision is on building a natural economy, building a nurturing economy. So building economy of 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 nurturance. So that vision, and the nurturance, the whole practice of nurturance is getting changed and changed. So I'm not against modern methods and technology, but let us think and then decide. Does anybody of us know that what is the end use of the loans that we are giving? Even with small uh, financiers, even Seva Bank is yet to know exactly, uh, borrower by borrower, that what is the travel of the loan money that was given to her. The loan money put in her bank account. Then we are not trying to find some mistakes or problem, but we should know that where does that money is used. Whether her son is taking away the money, or whether some old debt has to be fulfilled, and lots of things. So think in a more nurturing way.
11, you have been on the board of Reserve Bank of India for a term. And now, of course, it's the central bank of the country. But when we talk in terms of the microfinance sector and cooperative sector, what more can the RBI do?
RBI, much later, but have been very helpful. I remember a lot of things. It was who was a governor? Uh, Jalan.
Vimal Jalan.
Yeah, he was open, and he was a nurturing kind. So when we had in 2000, when we had a conference uh, of, of women's for banking here, then Sa-Dhan had played a very important role, and Jalan was the even President of India. Abul Kalam had also come, and what he spoke was so positive towards micro thing. Then Manmohan Singh was also helpful. Um, Raghuraman also, and when I was on the board,
yes.
then so I decided that what am I to do in a RBI. But then I decided that I will concentrate. So I'll keep my focus on the poor, type, the kind of clients, and then secondly on cooperatives. So whenever any agenda was being discussed, so then Raghuram would ask, what about they 11? ये बताओ कि what about they? So always that so does the discussion help in any way your day, your informal women, poor? And he himself wanted to visit Seva Bank, and in cooperatives it was the SRO, the concept which was developed by us, by Sa-Dhan. So that SRO concept was before that, if your time, before SRO was our idea was to have a full chapter on small finance in the RBI Act. So we had gone and then requested um, Jetli, no, Reddy, who was the governor. So he was not fully convinced, but he was supportive. So that is how Sa-Dhan had started. And Sa-Dhan's so SRO concept was very almost complete, and then the more improved as time went on. Then at the time of so when I was on the board, so not because of me, but I was a bit active as well, and the other board members being also not officials, but from different sectors of well-known sectors of the country. So they all agreed, and then SRO came into existence, and then the bank, Bandhan, that also was very well perceived and conceived by RBI. So though RBI is very, in the beginning, Seva Bank has suffered a lot. So then, because Seva Bank, all members are informal. Our methods being all informal, illiterate, all that. And this is the most regularized formal institution called RBI. So RBI was inspecting us, and then we had to work according under their regulation. But uh, I would really appreciate RBI's role.
11.
The problem is the financial structure.
Yes.
Our financial structures have become very self-centered, and for them, I should not use this kind of language, but it should be more soft. But financial structure have become autonomous on their own, and they do not uh, have any concern for the local traditions, local culture, local religion, local people, local land. Uh, so they have become very sort of money, more profit, more profit, more profit. But less of. So this is what that whom would you lend to a gun factory, because that will bring more profit, and private sector who does not distribute the part of profit to their members or to the investors. So there are so many issues at the local level. At at heart, each person is good. We want to do good, but when it is made and put into structure, then it doesn't serve the purpose, and particularly for the weak.
11. One thing is that, of course, Seva Bank has been very successful in Ahmedabad and Gujarat. Many times, many people ask that why Seva Bank are not, why there are no replications of Seva Bank elsewhere in the country. That's the question which everyone always asks. So, are the conditions in other states different? We didn't see institutions like Seva Bank.
I don't think replicable is the right word, but so many practices experienced by us has been shared and has been borrowed, and we have also also adopted others' experiences. So replica never helps. It's when you get into a tight system, then it doesn't grow. Uh, Many people tell us also that why don't you scale up? Scale up. So we have scaled up, but very slowly. But that is how we grow at the pace of the members, of the shareholders, and so we are slow. In fact, we should be fast, but it is true. But uh, if the policies are more open, if the people themselves are allowed to think and practice and experiment, of course not at the loss. We must have surplus. We must have some surplus, if not big, but and then distribute dividends. But I think replication uh, is not possible also, because each one's thinking is different. The Gujarat's approach to businesses and traditions, their occupations, their land, uh, dry land, most of the north, uh, deserts. So we have to devise our own way of lending and borrowing, and also dealing with the with, with the local markets and businesses. One thing can a small local banks like ours can do is to look into the uh, natural market in towns and cities. All the more so, there are vendors of all kinds of things, and somehow, as urbanization is considered part of development, yes, it is, but not necessarily. Then these people, uh, not only vendors, but these people, waste pickers and like that. So they have been seen as a, as a hmm, as a problem, as something avoidable, and they should be thrown out. And there should be nice the layout of the market. But street vendors, now we have Street Vendors Act. Within the act, natural market is recognized, and whatever, I mean, wherever there are residents, so market is going to be there. Wherever there is a temple or a mosque, there is going to be little market over there. So this is part of culture and good, natural. Such natural markets are going to happen. So let them be protected and be developed into a beauty. When you talk of heritage, the heritage is not only buildings. Those who were there uh, to the heritage place, a temple or whatever. So that people are also part of heritage, and that is now already in the act. So there is quite a big progress. So financing such natural markets would also be a very, nurturing the economy.
Ilaben, you of course you have broadly touched on this, but today we are now in the year 2020. But in the next decade or so, what do you feel would be the vision for our broader community development finance and microfinance in India or elsewhere?
One is that it is not micro, it is general, it is part of the mainstream, because these people are also whom we want to serve, are also part of the mainstream. Secondly, that but if not big banks, but at least our people be heading towards fulfilling the uh, the basic needs, life needs of the people, and those who have been marginalized for whatever reasons, including migrants and all of that. So uh, they should be our focus, and all the all the a few basic needs, like education, primary education, uh, children's care. Why can't they be financed locally? People are ready to pay the fees. It's my own experience. People, if they get exactly what they need, then they are very honest. They are responsible people. So why not finance towards that which gives work? The future of work is so uncertain today, as we know. So here at the local level, education, learning new technology, healthcare, the basics of healthcare, and also some of the basics of the Medicare can be financed and taught at the local level. Uh, of course, local financial services, pension and insurance and all that are for everybody. So that access is, and access to capital. The poor need capital. They know how to use it. It is our prejudice that they just break away and all that. And women will be less risky in lending. So let the lending be go towards improving the soil, improving your next generation, giving them better life. There are abundant employment opportunities there. How to create more employment opportunities? How to develop work that is nature, that is nurturing, and that has a good, positive impact on three things: their own self must feel, nurtured, their community, their village, whatever, uh, their district, and then the atmosphere, the climate, uh, the environment. And all the three must be developing at the same time, not at the cost of the other one. So how? So thinking, I I would say that in future we become more thinking, and then decide on your own, not be copycat, not just be copy all those that is put by the scholars in the research and in the not the Western necessarily. All of them are good for their own. What is good for us, that we have to decide. Then, if we think on our own and then follow, then we will be able to stand our own, and then we become self-reliant. Self-reliant in the way that self is all the three of us. We are bound by Anubandh. Each one is bounded with each other. So that is how the finance should go. Finance is only a medium. It is not everything. The financial structures have to be more nurturing and make all researches and the innovations towards nurturance, not self-destruction. So we can have our own R&D, localize them. If we think, then we will be able to act meaningfully and think in Anubandh, in a collective way.
11 and couple of last questions. One thing is that a lot of, since the country is growing and a lot of youngsters are entering our community development finance sector, what is your message for the youngsters entering our sector?
To tell you the truth, it is today's youths who are giving me message. And then when I speak, I tell them that don't listen to your elders. Your elders speak according to their own experience. We want to now listen to what to do according to your experience. And they are really so creative and passionate, in a very positive way. I tell you, I have done a regular interview with about 200 and more youths, particularly. Uh, and what they say, what my finding is that youths say, one, that uh, that we know, and then we understand that what is migration and forced migration and what is poverty and what is exploitation and all that we know. Second finding is that they say that uh, we have been, uh, we want answers, what to do. And 100%, all of them have said that. Okay, but then what is the answer? What to do? What should I do? At almost 22%, come to me and sit next to me and say that, then what can I do? मैं क्या कर सकती? My heart gets melted. They are so ready and open, and they have already started experimenting. And particularly the Western youth, I like them all the more because they are already um enchanted by all this luxury and facilities and all that. What they are missing, their own heart knows. So they want a change, and they are moving towards change. Uh, I may say, kind of towards nurturance, towards small, towards local. So, in my words, Gandhiji is with us. He's there. His thoughts uh, have been giving the answer. So I'm very enthusiastic for today's youth, and the less educated, all the more.
When you are very optimistic for the youth and their vision for the country and this sector. And my last question would be that for Sa-Dhan as an organization, what should be our vision and the way forward in the years to come?
So Sa-Dhan does have a vision and has been moving towards positive way of, and that is why Sa-Dhan was organized. But as you know, as I said, let us think the impact. What Sa-Dhan, the board, the Sa-Dhan members, and the others. Let us we together, think that what is the impact of our financial services. The other is that let there be integrated services. Only lending money does not solve any problem. That we have learned enough. So uh, let there be integrated approach to financial services, and let them, health is so much related to education, and education is so much related to financial service, and financial service is so much related to their food, their body, to their shelter. So all these are so much related. So let there be, or three goods and three services, as I say, roti, kapda, makan, and three services. That is healthcare and childcare and financial service. I would say primary banking. So all these three goods and three services as a compact. I think we should go there, and we should not stop till there. That will cover everything, improving the soil and all that. All that will contain within that, and we will be moving towards a better future of work. After all, Shrama, work is the most important. Work is life, karma. So that is where we will be able to reach. And we know that future is so uncertain, but these basic needs would be always required for anybody, for any rich or poor. If we are able to satisfy these basic needs and bring more innovation, build up the capacity building of whoever we reach, understand them, understand ourselves. So I think there will be a better world, no doubt.
Thank you, Ilaben, for spending nearly 1 hour with us and answering so many questions. And as I always say that we at Sa-Dhan are very proud to have you as our mentor and as our chair emeritus. And thank you for your message and your discussion.
Thank you so much, and my best wishes to all the Sa-Dhan members.
Thank you.
And